All right, mate? Tom asked, settling into the comfy armchair opposite his friend Liam. Liam, who was nursing a cup of tea, looked up and smiled. Not bad, Tom. Not bad at all. Just reminiscing a bit, actually. You know how it is? Sometimes a certain smell or a sound just takes you back somewhere. It's funny how the mind works, isn't it? One minute you're thinking about what to have for dinner, and the next, you're 1,000 miles away, reliving a memory from years ago. It's a bit like a mental postcard, really, a snapshot of a different time and place. Tom nodded, taking a sip of his own drink. I know exactly what you mean. So, where has your mind wandered off to today then? Somewhere exotic, I hope? Not just down the chippy for a battered sausage, I trust. Though, to be fair, even that can be an adventure sometimes, depending on the cue. But seriously, you look like you've got a proper faraway look in your eyes. Spill the beans, mate. What's got you so contemplative on this fine afternoon? Is it somewhere I might have heard of, or one of your more obscure destinations? Liam chuckled. You could say that. It was China, actually. I was just thinking about my trip there a few years back. Have you ever been, Tom? Or even thought about going? It's a place that really stays with you long after you've left. There's just so much to see and experience, it's almost overwhelming, but in a good way. It's vast and the history is just immense. Every corner you turn, there's something that makes you stop and think. It's not just the big sights either, but the little everyday things too. Tom leaned forward, his interest piqued. China, eh? Wow, that's a big one. Can't say I have, mate. My travels have been a bit more European, shall we say? A bit of Spain, a touch of France, you know the drill. Mostly package holidays with the family, to be honest. China always seemed a bit too far, a bit too different, if you know what I mean. But I've always been curious. You always hear so much about it, but it's hard to get a real picture, isn't it? It's one of those places that feels like a whole other world. Liam smiled, understanding Tom's perspective. I felt the same way before I went, to be honest. It did feel like stepping onto another planet at first. The sheer number of people, for a start, is something you can't quite prepare for, especially in the big cities like Beijing or Shanghai. It's a constant flow, a river of humanity. But it's not chaotic, not in the way you might imagine. There's an energy to it, a vibrancy that's quite infectious once you get used to it. And the sounds, the smells, it's a full sensory experience from the moment you arrive. He paused, remembering. I landed in Beijing, and the airport itself was a marvel of modern engineering, all gleaming steel and glass. But then you drive into the city, and you start seeing these contrasts everywhere. Ancient temples nestled beside towering skyscrapers, wide modern boulevards suddenly giving way to narrow alleyways, or hutongs as they call them, where life seems to have moved at a slower pace for centuries. It was this blend of old and new that struck me immediately. It was like walking through different layers of time all at once. The language barrier was a bit of a challenge at first, I won't lie, Liam continued. Not many people spoke English outside of the tourist hotspots, especially a few years back. But people were incredibly patient and helpful. I had a little phrase book, and there was a lot of pointing and smiling involved. It actually became part of the adventure, trying to communicate. And you'd be surprised how much you can convey with a few gestures and a willingness to try. It forces you to observe more, to pay attention to the nonverbal cues, which is quite an interesting experience in itself. Tom listened intently. I can imagine. I always worry about not being able to speak the lingo. Makes you feel a bit vulnerable, doesn't it? But it sounds like you managed all right. It's funny. You see pictures on the telly, but it's not the same as hearing about it from someone who's actually been there. It's the little details, like the hutongs you mentioned, that make it sound real. It makes you think about how different daily life must be for people living there, compared to what we're used to here in good old Blighty. Oh, absolutely, Liam agreed. And speaking of history, you can't talk about China without mentioning the Great Wall. It's one of those iconic landmarks that everyone knows, but seeing it in person is something else entirely. I went to a section called Mutianyu, which is a bit less crowded than some of the other parts closer to Beijing. Even so, the scale of it is just breathtaking. It snakes across the mountains as far as the eye can see, this incredible feat of human engineering and sheer determination. It really makes you feel small, in a good way. He described the experience vividly. We took a cable car up to one of the highest points and then just started walking along the ramparts. The views were spectacular, with rolling hills and mountains stretching out in every direction. Some sections were incredibly steep, with uneven steps worn smooth by centuries of use and countless feet. You can almost feel the history seeping out of the stones. You think about the soldiers who guarded it, the laborers who built it, the sheer effort involved, It's more than just a wall, it's a symbol of resilience. I remember standing on one of the watchtowers, Liam went on, looking out over the landscape, and there was this incredible sense of peace, despite the other tourists around. The air was crisp and clean, and there was a gentle breeze. It was one of those moments where you just stop and absorb everything. You try to imagine what it would have been like centuries ago, to be a soldier stationed there, looking out for invaders. It's a powerful place, no doubt about it. It makes you ponder the passage of time and human endeavor. Tom whistled softly. The Great Wall, I've seen it in films of course, but it sounds incredible. Just the thought of how long it is and how long ago it was built, it's hard to get your head around really. And you walked on it. That's something to tell the grandkids, isn't it? It's not just a pile of bricks, is it? It's a proper piece of history, a testament to what people can achieve, or what they feel they need to build to protect themselves. It must have been quite an experience standing there and taking it all in. It really was, Liam confirmed. And then there's the Forbidden City in Beijing, another place that just oozes history from every pore. It's enormous. A city within a city, really. It was the home of emperors for nearly 500 years, and you can feel that sense of power and mystique as you walk through its vast courtyards and ornate halls. The sheer scale of it is mind-boggling. You could spend days exploring it and still not see everything. Each building, each courtyard has its own story, its own significance in the grand scheme of imperial life. He continued, painting a picture with his words. The names of the halls are so evocative. The Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Palace of Heavenly Purity, and the colors, so much rich red and vibrant gold with intricate carvings and decorations everywhere you look. Dragons are a very common motif, symbolizing imperial power. You wander through these immense courtyards imagining the elaborate ceremonies that took place there, the thousands of officials and courtiers all dressed in their finest robes. It's like stepping back into a different era, a world of emperors and concubines. I remember being particularly struck by the detailed craftsmanship, Liam added. The glazed roof tiles, the carved marble balustrades, the intricate wooden lattices on the windows. Everything was designed to impress, to project an image of overwhelming power and sophistication. And it's so well preserved considering its age and the tumultuous history China has been through. You walk through the private quarters of the emperors and empresses, and you get a glimpse into their daily lives, though of course it was a life far removed from anything ordinary people experienced. It was fascinating, truly fascinating. Tom shook his head in amazement. The Forbidden City. It sounds like something out of a film, doesn't it? All that gold and those grand halls. It's hard to imagine people actually living like that with so much power and so many rules. You hear about emperors, but this makes it sound so much more real. It's one thing to read about it in a book, but to actually walk where they walked, that must be something special. It's like the history isn't just in books anymore, it's right there in front of you, something you can almost touch. Exactly, Liam exclaimed. And beyond the incredible history, there's the food. Oh Tom, the food in China is an adventure in itself. It's so much more diverse and complex than the Chinese takeaway we get here. Every region has its own specialities, its own unique flavors. We tend to think of Chinese food as one single thing, but it's incredibly varied. From the spicy dishes of Sichuan province with their famous peppercorns that make your mouth tingle, to the delicate seafood of Cantonese cuisine, it's a real culinary journey. He licked his lips, remembering. I tried so many things I'd never even heard of before. Peking duck in Beijing, of course, which was carved at the table with such skill. Crispy skin, tender meat, served with thin pancakes and hoisin sauce. Then there were the soup dumplings, xiao long bao in Shanghai, little parcels of dough filled with hot savory broth and minced pork. You have to eat them carefully or you'll scald your tongue. And the street food, everywhere you go, there are vendors selling delicious snacks, from steamed buns to grilled skewers. It wasn't just about the famous dishes though, Liam elaborated. It was about the way food is shared, the communal aspect of eating. Meals are often served family-style with lots of different dishes placed in the center of the table for everyone to share. It's a very social experience, and tea. Tea is a huge part of the culture, not just something you drink, but a whole ritual in itself. I went to a traditional tea house and experienced a proper tea ceremony. It was so calming and intricate, a real art form. It made me appreciate my cuppa back home in a new light. Tom's stomach rumbled audibly. You're making me hungry, mate. Peking duck, soup dumplings. It sounds amazing. I'm pretty adventurous with food. I reckon I'd give most things a go. It's interesting what you say about it being so regional. I suppose it makes sense, it's such a massive country. And sharing dishes, that sounds like a nice way to eat. Much better than everyone just having their own plate. It makes mealtime more of an event, doesn't it? I can see why that would be a big part of the experience for you. Section 6. Traditions that endure. Festivals and family. It definitely was, Liam said. And the food is often closely linked to traditions and festivals, which are still a massive part of life in China. Things like Chinese New Year, or Spring Festival as they call it, are huge. It's the most important holiday, a time for families to get together, much like our Christmas. There are dragon dances, lion dances, fireworks, and special foods that are eaten for good luck. The whole country seems to come alive with red decorations, as red is considered a very auspicious color, symbolizing happiness and good fortune. He continued, then there's the Mid-Autumn Festival, where people eat mooncakes and admire the full moon. Mooncakes are these dense, sweet pastries, often with a salted duck egg yolk in the center to represent the moon. They come in all sorts of flavors and intricate designs. These festivals are deeply rooted in history and folklore, and they provide a real connection to the past. Even in the most modern cities, you see these traditions being upheld with great enthusiasm. It shows how important cultural heritage is to the Chinese people. Family is also incredibly central to Chinese culture, Liam explained. There's a strong emphasis on respecting your elders and maintaining close family ties. You see multiple generations living together, or at least very close by, much more commonly than we do here. This sense of community and filial piety, as it's called, underpins a lot of their social interactions. It's a different way of looking at the world perhaps, where the group is often more important than the individual. It was quite insightful to observe that. Tom nodded thoughtfully. It's fascinating how those old traditions carry on, even with all the modernization. Chinese New Year always looks so colorful on the news, and the family aspect, yeah, that's a bit different from here, isn't it? We tend to be a bit more independent, I suppose. But there's something nice about that idea of close-knit families and respecting your elders. It feels like there's a strong foundation there. These traditions and values must give people a real sense of belonging and identity. Section 7. The pulse of modern China cities that never sleep. Absolutely, Liam agreed. But alongside all that incredible history and tradition, there's this unstoppable wave of modernity. The big cities like Shanghai or Shenzhen are just incredible. The skylines are futuristic, filled with skyscrapers that pierce the clouds. The infrastructure is amazing. Super fast bullet trains that connect cities, gleaming new airports and subway systems that are incredibly efficient. It really feels like you're in a country that's moving forward at a tremendous pace, embracing the future with open arms. He elaborated on the urban experience. In Shanghai, I walked along the Bund, that famous waterfront area, looking across the river at the Pudong skyline. It's like something out of a science fiction film, and the city is buzzing 24/7, shops are open late, restaurants are always busy, and there's just this constant energy. People are ambitious, driven, and keen to embrace new technologies. Everyone seems to have a smartphone, and they use them for everything. Paying for things, ordering food, getting around. It's a very digitally connected society. Yet even in these hyper-modern cities you can still find pockets of traditional life, Liam noted. Like I mentioned, the hutongs in Beijing or little local markets tucked away down side streets in Shanghai. You might see a group of elderly people doing Tai Chi in a park in the early morning, right next to a gleaming new shopping mall. It's this juxtaposition of old and new that makes modern China so fascinating. It's not just one thing or the other, it's a complex blend of both, coexisting side by side. Tom seemed impressed. Bullet trains and skyscrapers, eh? It sounds like a real powerhouse. I've seen pictures of Shanghai, it looks incredible. Almost unreal. It's hard to imagine that pace of change. Here, a new bypass takes about 10 years to get built, and everyone on their phones, well, that sounds a bit like here, to be fair, but maybe even more so. It's interesting that they still keep the old traditions alive amidst all that new development. It shows a respect for where they've come from, I suppose, even as they rush towards the future. Section 8. A land of contrasts. Old meets new. That's a perfect way to put it, Liam said. China truly is a land of contrasts. You have these incredibly wealthy modern cities, but then you can travel to rural areas where life is much simpler, much more traditional, and where poverty is still a reality for some. The gap between the rich and poor can be quite stark, just like in many developing countries. You see incredible technological advancements, but also people working the land using methods that haven't changed much in centuries. It's this constant interplay that defines so much of the country. He continued, think about the history we've discussed, thousands of years of imperial rule, then the massive upheavals of the 20th century, and now this period of rapid economic growth. All of these layers are present in contemporary China. You can see it in the architecture, in people's attitudes, in the art. There's a sense of national pride, a desire to reclaim China's place on the world stage, but also an awareness of the challenges that come with such rapid transformation. It's a very dynamic and complex society, still figuring things out. Even the landscape itself is full of contrasts, Liam added. You have the densely populated eastern seaboard, but then vast deserts like the Gobi in the west. There are towering mountain ranges like the Himalayas and fertile river valleys that have sustained agriculture for millennia. The sheer geographical diversity is astounding. So when you talk about China, you're talking about so many different environments, so many different ways of life, all under one umbrella. It's far too simplistic to think of it as a single uniform entity, which I think many people in the West tend to do. Tom nodded slowly, absorbing it all. It sounds like you can't just sum it up in a few words, can you? It's not just one thing. I hadn't really thought about the geographical diversity, or the contrast between the cities and the countryside in that way. You hear about the economic miracle, but you don't always hear about the other side of the coin, or the complexities of it all. It's good to get a more rounded picture. It makes it seem less like a distant, monolithic place and more like a country full of real people and real stories with all the ups and downs that entails. Section 9. Reflections and Future Travels, The Lasting Impact. Liam smiled. Exactly. And that's why visiting, or even just learning more about China, can be so enriching. It challenges your preconceptions. It opens your eyes to different ways of thinking, different ways of living. For me, it was a truly transformative experience. It didn't just teach me about China, it taught me a lot about the world and my own place in it. It made me more curious, more open to understanding cultures that are different from my own, and it definitely gave me the travel bug for more adventurous destinations. He leaned back, a fond look in his eyes. I often think about going back. There's still so much I didn't see, so many other regions I'd love to explore. Perhaps somewhere in the south, like Yunnan province, which is known for its beautiful scenery and diverse ethnic minority cultures. Or maybe a journey along the Silk Road. The possibilities are endless. It's a country that keeps drawing you back, I think, because it's constantly changing and evolving. What you see one year might be different the next. It certainly makes you appreciate the sheer scale of human history and achievement, Liam reflected. When you stand on the Great Wall or wander through the Forbidden City, you're connecting with something ancient and profound. But equally, when you see the dynamism of modern China, you're witnessing history being made in the present. It's a powerful reminder that the world is a big, diverse, and fascinating place. It pushes you out of your comfort zone, and that's always a good thing, isn't it? It broadens your horizons in ways you can't always predict. Tom grinned. You've definitely given me a lot to think about, mate. It sounds like an incredible trip. Maybe China isn't quite as daunting as I imagined. Perhaps one day, eh? You've painted such a vivid picture, from the food to the history to the bustling cities. It sounds like a proper adventure. Thanks for sharing all that, Liam. It's been really interesting. Fancy another cuppa, and you can tell me where you're off to next? Or perhaps we can start planning my imaginary trip to China.